In the early decades of the 20th century, America was no stranger to crime. Bank robberies made headlines, armed men became legends, and the line between outlaw and folk hero was dangerously thin. But among these criminals, one name inspired fear, outrage, and relentless pursuit by law enforcement. His name was George Courtois. Unlike romanticized bandits of his time, Courtois was cold, violent, and unapologetic. He did not steal to survive, he stole to dominate. This is the story of George Courtois, the armed robber whose life was shaped by crime and whose end came at the hands of the law he defied. Early life and path to crime. George Courtois was born in the United States at a time when economic hardship, limited opportunity, and weak policing created fertile ground for criminal careers. Little is known about his early childhood, but by his young adult years, Courtois had already developed a reputation for aggression, defiance, and violence. He was not a man driven by desperation, he was driven by power. By the 1920s and early 1930s, America was experiencing a wave of armed robberies. Banks were easy targets, security was weak, and stolen cash offered instant status in the criminal underworld. Courtois embraced this lifestyle fully. He carried firearms openly, trusted no one, and quickly became known as a man who would shoot first and never apologize later. Rise as an armed robber. George Courtois specialized in armed robbery, often targeting businesses and institutions where intimidation could guarantee fast results. Unlike some criminals who avoided bloodshed, Courtois had no hesitation using violence. Witnesses described him as reckless, aggressive, completely indifferent to human life. His crimes were not subtle, they were loud, public, and terrifying. Every robbery left behind shaken victims, traumatized communities, and a growing police file with Courtois' name circled in red. Law enforcement quickly realized they were not dealing with a petty thief. They were dealing with a career criminal who posed a serious public threat. Escape, arrests, and prison life. Eventually, Courtois was captured and sentenced to prison. But prison did not reform him. Instead, it hardened him. Behind bars, Courtois became even more dangerous, developing deeper resentment toward authority and openly expressing hatred for the justice system. He was known for violent outbursts, threats against guards, and absolute refusal to submit to prison discipline. To Courtois, prison was not punishment, it was a temporary inconvenience, and he was determined not to stay. The bold escape that shocked America. George Courtois' most infamous act came not during a robbery, but during his escape attempt. While being transported by law enforcement officers, Courtois seized his opportunity. Armed and desperate, he attacked his guards. What followed was a violent struggle that ended in tragedy. During the escape attempt, 2 police officers were killed. The nation was stunned. This was no longer a robber story. This was now a manhunt for a cop killer. Courtois had crossed a line that ensured there would be no second chances. Law enforcement agencies mobilized across state lines, determined to capture him, dead or alive. The final manhunt. For a brief time, George Courtois was on the run, but the United States in the early 20th century was becoming increasingly efficient at tracking fugitives. The FBI and local police shared intelligence, tightened borders, and closed escape routes. Courtois, armed and cornered, refused to surrender peacefully. When law enforcement finally caught up with him, the confrontation was swift and decisive. George Courtois was shot and killed by police. There would be no trial, no prison sentence, no redemption arc, only an abrupt and violent end, fitting the life he chose. Legacy and historical impact. George Courtois is remembered today not as a folk hero, but as a warning. His life exposed the brutal reality behind the romantic image of armed robbers. Innocent people suffer, officers lose their lives, and violence always escalates. His case also influenced law enforcement procedures, especially regarding prisoner transport security, armed escort protocols, and fugitive response coordination. Courtois proved that unchecked violence leads only to destruction, for victims, for officers, and for the criminal himself. George Courtois lived by the gun, and he died by it. In a time when criminals were often mythologized, Courtois stood as a stark reminder that real crime is not glamorous, it is ugly, bloody, and final.